Hey there guys, I'm back to another video. Today I'm here doing a quick little thoughts video about the recent Sonic news, more specifically Sonic X Shadow Generations. This game was officially unveiled at the State of Play this past week, and I just want to talk about it, sort of my hopes and my expectations for this brand new game. So before leading up to this official announcement, there were leaks and sort of rumors going around like domain names. Sonic fans are crazy, what can I say? And people were finding all of these information out there about a brand new Sonic Generations sort of remaster, remake, whatever you want to call it, and Shadow is going to be involved in some way. So after this official trailer has come out, now we know exactly what they're doing with it. They're pretty much remastering Sonic Generations for the current generation of consoles, PS5, Xbox, Series X, PC, etc. And we're also going to have a standalone Shadow campaign. And that's probably like the coolest brand new thing about it is like we haven't had Shadow in like the spotlight in a actual game since Sonic 06. I mean, if you want to call episode Shadow from Sonic Forces as a thing, sure, go right ahead. But I feel like that piece of DLC wasn't done justice for Shadow as a character, and I feel like this piece of DLC or this sort of Shadow Generations thing is going to do that. And yeah, so let's just talk about it. Let's go and get the facts straight, and then we'll sort of figure out what I want from this, and you guys can let me know what you guys want from this DLC piece as well. So, according to the Steam description, quote, play as Shadow the Hedgehog in a brand new story campaign featuring never before seen powers and abilities. When Shadow's old nemesis, Black Doom, reemerges and threatens to take over the world, Shadow must journey into his own past, confront painful memories, familiar foes, and unlock new powers to save the world and prove why he's known as the ultimate life form. So, yeah, I mean, it looks like that this is pretty much what they're describing it as Shadow Generations. We're going to be going back to his past and playing through certain levels, certain enemies, certain boss fights. Within this one trailer alone, we saw Radical Highway and Final Chase from Sonic Adventure 2, as long as BioLizard, and obviously Black Doom is going to be a huge part of this. And yeah, I mean, it just looks great. Like, visually, it just looks so stunning. Like, the graphics are, like, out of this world. Like, obviously, like, it is still, like, Sonic the Hedgehog cartoony graphics, but I feel like the games and everything like that, especially with the 3D stuff, they've never looked this good. I feel like, especially with Sonic Frontiers, like that game, it looks fine. There's nothing exactly super stand out about it, but the animations and sort of the visuals of it never really stood out. But with this game, oh my God, like Shadow is so expressive. The way he moves, the way he glides and everything like that is just like, wow, like this is something different. And I'm so excited to see what this DLC, or should I say Shadow Generations, has to offer. I keep calling it DLC because it feels like it is like a piece of DLC for Sonic Generations and sort of their excuse to remaster the game, but also add this standalone Shadow campaign. So let's go and get into sort of my theorizing and sort of what I want to see from this Shadow Generations thing. So first up, what levels and bosses do I want to see? What other stuff do I want to see other than what we've already seen so far? And obviously, Shadow, we need to remind ourselves, despite Shadow having like a huge fan base within the Sonic community, especially with this year, with the Sonic 3 movie coming out and everything like that, we need to remind ourselves that there are only 4 games that Shadow is really like a part of, that he's like a huge major character in. Obviously, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes, Shadow the Hedgehog, which is his own game, and Sonic 06. And ever since Sonic 06, like I said earlier, he hasn't really had a huge major role within the Sonic games. And because of that, I feel like that they're trying to test the waters again, trying to see exactly how much pull can Shadow get if they were to do like a Shadow the Hedgehog 2, if you will. And if it has this gameplay style, from what we've seen so far, like, shoot, I'm all in for it. Like, this just looks great and so amazing and so fantastic. So obviously we have already a boss fight and 2 levels from Sonic Adventure 2. And if we're going to go with that same theme, I'm guessing that we're going to get at least 1 boss and 1 level from the other 3 games, which is Sonic Heroes, Shadow the Hedgehog, and Sonic 06. So for Sonic Heroes, I am a huge Sonic Heroes fan. That's like my first ever Sonic game, and I still have a huge love for that game. Even though it's not, the best Sonic game out there, it's still within like my top 5, if you will. I don't mind whatever level that they put in, because when you play Sonic Heroes, you're pretty much playing through the same levels, just in different difficulty ranges. But if I had to pick 3, I would have to choose between Rail Canyon, Power Plant, and Egg Fleet. Egg Fleet is just such a cool level, and Rail Canyon, I have a lot of nostalgia for, because I just love grinding levels within Sonic. I don't know what it is, but Casino Park would also be like my number 4 pick, but overall, I still love all of the levels in there. The bosses within Sonic Heroes, they don't really stand out to me. I think they're all you just like fighting Eggman or whatever. And then the final boss is obviously Overlord Metal. I'm not sure if they're going to put that within Shadow Generations because I feel like that was a Sonic boss fight, not a Shadow boss fight. But a Metal Sonic versus Shadow boss fight, either way, that would be pretty dope. I don't mind exactly what they do with the Sonic Heroes material. I hope that something's in there at least one level. There doesn't need to be a boss fight, but I think one level from Sonic Heroes to slot into Shadow Generations, I think that would be awesome, obviously. Now for Shadow the Hedgehog, Shadow the Hedgehog obviously has a very, very bad rep because it is kind of one of the worst Sonic games. I haven't played it in years, but even then when I played it as a kid, I was just like, what am I exactly doing? I have to get like multiple endings and all this other stuff. I just didn't get exactly what the game was trying to do, but obviously Black Doom's in it. I hope that we get a Devil Doom boss fight. Maybe that boss fight will be us being Super Shadow once again, and we get to face him like that. I think that would be pretty dope. That's like one of the coolest parts of Shadow the Hedgehog was like that final chapter, just like playing through that final chapter and facing Black Doom and sort of defeating everything. Like that was just such a cool moment. And one level from Shadow of the Hedgehog that I would like to see is obviously Westopolis. That is like the main level that you start in. So every single time you have to do one of those new endings, you have to start there. So I think that level is like a no-brainer. If they put any other level from Shadow of the Hedgehog, I wouldn't mind either. And last but not least is Sonic 06. Obviously, everyone wants a Mephiles boss fight. I think that should be in the game. If it's not in there, I don't mind exactly. But I think with the recent Jack Specific figures, if you guys aren't like Sonic collectors like me, you wouldn't exactly be familiar with this, but Jack Specific is the current license holder for the Sonic the Hedgehog toy line, and they recently dropped a wave with Mephiles in there, the first ever Mephiles action figure. Now, why did Sega let them do this? I'm not entirely sure. They've allowed them to do other weird and obscure Sonic characters within their 4-inch wave already, but for Mephiles, it's like, okay, it's kind of weird timing. Is he going to be within Shadow Generations? I don't know. I think everyone would love to see him return within that game and just have like a boss fight in there. Levels from Shadow Story, White Acropolis, and or Crisis City. I think Crisis City is like a very iconic level for anyone that has played Sonic 06. You will remember Crisis City because it's just like everything's on fire. And I think that is just like, like a pretty cool like level, like aesthetic wise. Obviously, like story wise, it was just like, oh God, like what the hell's going on? But I think that if they were to include a Sonic 06 representation, Crisis City and or White Acropolis, along with a Mephiles boss fight, those would be pretty cool. But I'm not expecting Shadow Generations to be anything crazy because this is sort of like an extra piece of DLC that they're tacking onto Sonic Generations Remastered. So how long should it be? And if you play Sonic Generations, you would know that it's around 4 to 5 hours long to get through every single level. And obviously Shadow doesn't have as much history as Sonic does. So, and especially if we're talking about if each of these 4 games has 1 or 2 levels, including a boss fight, I'm thinking like 3 to 4 hours here. It doesn't have to be crazy long and it doesn't have to be too long, but I think just like fulfilling Sonic fans, just like the fan service of Shadow and just going through his past, playing through these older levels within this new Shadow Generations game. I think that's all we really want. Obviously, what we saw already, smooth animations, the sort of clean gameplay and the new powers, new abilities, all of that stuff is just like, okay, yeah, like I think most Sonic fans are already sold on this. It's just about how long is it and how much is going to be within the game itself. And one last thing I want to talk about here is like the price of the game. We don't know exactly how much it's going to be. It's going to come out later this year in the fall. If my guess is correct, I'm thinking that the game's going to be $60. Unfortunately, Sega's probably going to look at this and be like, well, Sonic fans are probably going to be more than willing to pay $60 just because of Shadow Generations. And they are 100% right. I don't see this game being $70. I think that would be ridiculous. Ideally, in my opinion, I would charge $50 for this, but obviously I don't know how much resources that they're putting into Shadow Generations, obviously, because we've seen what they have so far. It looks very, very good. So if it's worth $60 and they're giving us, that sort of level of quality within the final game, then sure, why not? I don't really mind paying $60 at that point. But, we're just going to have to wait and see when the final product launches later this year. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I really have to say about Shadow Generations. What are your guys' expectations? What are your hopes for this sort of little extra piece of DLC that they're adding on to Sonic Generations to give us? Let us know in the comment section below. And yeah, that is all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys have not already, you can subscribe. I put new videos up on Saturdays. You can follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at TV Sonic Gaming. And lastly, I have a podcast called the Travis and Damian Podcast. We talk about games, movies, and anime every other week, and especially Sonic the Hedgehog whenever there is Sonic news. But yeah, that is all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching this video once again, and I'll see you guys next time with more videos.